in the business at the time, and they would teach me things like, how fast do you want that duplication process to take place? And that understanding led me to know why I don't want someone to have to go reduce their oxidative stress before they're going to go out ahead and join the business. I mean, think about that. How long does someone have to use Protandim before they're actually going to get that reduction that we tell them they're going to get? At least 45 days, right? At least 45 days, like John Quinones did on his little ABC Primetime special. And so I started to say, man, if I have to introduce somebody to a product and then wait for them to have an experience on that product, and then get excited about that product, and then decide to sign up on that product, and then introduce other people to that product, and wait for them to have an experience on that product, wait another 45 days for them to get excited, this is going to take me forever to build an income. Does that make sense? Now, I'll tell you, when I got introduced to this company, I was pretty excited about our product, because our company was setting a standard that had never been met anywhere else in the industry. Up until that time, we had incredible products, but when someone said, where is your proof? We would always say, well, no one else has it. Why do we have to have it? I mean, not really. But we would say, you know, our scientist in the basement, or this lab that we paid to give us a test, that's our proof. Nobody had real, legitimate, high-level proof. Nobody had proof from the places that we really trust the most, until I got introduced to this. Now, I thought, man, what an incredible opportunity. Everyone's going to want to do this. All I'm going to have to say is Harvard said so, or Louisiana State said so. All I'm going to have to say is the American Heart Association said so. And as we continue to get all these peer reviews, man, it's just going to get even easier and easier and easier. What I did not think is that everyone would go out and start studying peer reviews. I did not think that people were going to become experts on how the NRF2 pathway works. I did not think that I was going to get asked questions about superoxide dismutase and catalase and glutathione and KEAP1 and KEAP2 receptors and upregulating 400 different gene regulations.
Woo!
I did not think that we were going to have to start passing out white lab suits for everyone as they graduated with their science degree from these events. I've never once attended, and they're going to love me for this one. Where's compliance? Is compliance even in here? Where's compliance? Are you in here? Raise your hand. Is compliance really not in here? This is awesome. We're going to politely ask Steve to leave. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, okay? I'm kidding. I have never attended a science meeting ever in my life, because I don't need to know what the experts have already said. Why do I need to know that? Why would I ever believe that I've got to go out and educate the person I'm talking to on 30 different peer reviews? Why would I want to do that? Why wouldn't I want to educate them on how to structure a business? Why wouldn't I want to ask them questions like, do you have enough money in your life? Do you have enough money at the end of the month? Why wouldn't I want to be asking people questions like that? What are you doing to pay for the new car, the new house? What are you doing to pay for your kids' education? Aren't those better questions? I mean, if these guys have already said you should take the product, what are you going to do? Go home and prove that you shouldn't? How many of you guys have a lab in your kitchen that you're like trying to disprove the products? That's what I hear when someone says I need to know more about it. I'm like, really? Well, where's your lab? I mean, you've got the resources to like contradict Harvard? Really? How does that work? I don't know anybody that has those resources. I know a lot of people that could use a little extra money. How many of you could use a little extra money right now? How many of you guys know somebody that might be struggling with all the inflation we've gone through? I mean, these are real things, right? How many of you guys know somebody that could use a little extra money because interest rates are really high and they don't have enough money to buy a house now or can't afford the house payment? What if interest rates didn't matter? Would that be nice? What if you didn't care because you had enough money that it just didn't matter? Would that be better? How many of you guys are worried that your kids are not going to be able to make it in today's society, the financial restrictions that they're going to have as they enter into their adult life? How many of you guys are worried about that? Anybody worried about that? How many of you guys are loving your 401k right now? Anybody? Anybody want to be able to make some of that back up? See, I feel really fortunate, you guys, that I was taught how to not have to follow the 40-year plan, and that's why I focus on this conversation. This conversation is a lot easier for me because it's just math. I don't have to be a scientist. That's what I love about compensation plans. I've always led with the compensation plan. People ask me all the time, they go, well, how many customers do you have? Guess. How many customers do you think I personally have? 5. Less than 5, and it just depends on which family member is buying a product from me for the moment. Okay? I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't have any. In fact, we have a comp plan right now that will reward you at the highest percentage for gathering them. And we're going to go through that in a second, okay? So understand what I'm saying. I would argue that my organization has more customers than any organization in the company if you add them all up. Okay? Because I was taught this little principle. When I have people come up to me and say, well, I care about people, that's why I talk about product, and you don't care about people because you just talk about money, we do some math. And this is how that math goes. If you think you care more about people because you lead with the product, you can actually introduce this to your little circle of influence. Until you start to duplicate your effort, until you find somebody else to help you tell the story, your circle of influence is defined to be this big. Just like mine is. And they're all different sizes depending on who you are and what you've done, right? But my mentor taught me that as soon as I go find a Jake, his circle of influence overlaps mine. And if I can go find 10 more of Jake's, that's 10 more circles of influence that get added to my circle of influence. And if I can get 10 people to go find 10 people to have 100 more people, that's 100 more circles of influence that we can introduce this product to. So I promise you, me and my 100 people telling this story will introduce this product to more people than you will. Is that sinking in? Tell me I don't care about people as much as you do. The additional benefit is not only am I having a larger group of people benefit from our products, they're also getting paid. How big of an influence do you think that has in their lives? How many of you guys want to be really, really healthy but can't afford to get off the couch? Anybody want to be 80 years old but you can't leave your home? Anybody want to be 80 years old and just perfectly healthy trying to live on Social Security, whatever that's going to be? Anybody want that? Wouldn't you guys rather make $1 million a year but only live like 10 years but you're on fire for all 10 years? I mean, be honest, wouldn't you just rather have the life that everyone talks about, even if it was shorter? I would. I don't want to sit in the chair and just have people come visit me. Hello, old man. I'd rather live my life on fire. I'd rather make a ton of money to the extreme for a shorter period of time. But here's the beauty. We get to have both here. You get to have as much money as you want, and you get to live way longer than you probably were going to. Who doesn't want that combination? That makes sense? Okay, so, Steve, did he actually leave? Oh. I was like, oh, wow, did he really go? What was it? Was it 3 years ago that you called me and said, hey, we're going to take a deep dive into the compensation plan? Was it 3 years ago? Almost to this day, almost. So Steve called me up and he goes, hey, Tyler, he goes, I really want you to get involved in this project that we're going to work on right now. We have got some data that would suggest that the world we live in is moving a little bit beyond what our comp plan can handle. We want to modernize the compensation plan. And I'll be honest, I was scared. I was like, Steve, do you not understand that there are 3 or 4 things that you absolutely do not do in this industry, right? And messing with a comp plan is one of them, right? And he's like, no. He's like, I really think that we can show you some information, some data. You're going to love what we're going to do, but I want you to be in the room. You're going to have to sign this almost like an encyclopedia thickness of non-disclosures and stuff that basically say I have to give you everything in my life, my children, if I tell anybody we're doing it, right? He goes, well, we're going to have you come in and we're going to try to create a plan that is modern, that will attract every single way that people are trying to generate income from all these side hustles or side gigs or this gig economy that we live in. Would you please come help us do that? So we went into a room. I got to meet a group called the Jensen Group. Dan Jensen's group, just to give you, this is where you guys should start writing some stuff down. Because I think you need to, if you're going to lead with any kind of income producing messaging at all, you're going to want to know what the foundations of that are, okay? So the Dan Jensen Group has built over 1,000 different compensation plans over the last 30 years. Very, very involved in multiple different companies, and which means that he's got his finger on the pulse, right? He's talking to companies that are heavy into, say, social marketing, or heavy into traditional marketing, or heavy into, maybe even direct sales type marketing, or even just, 3 levels of compression or 3 levels of payout versus 6, 8, 9 levels. He's got his finger on the pulse. They've built 1,000 plans over the last 30 years. 30 of the top 100 companies in the industry use a plan that they built. Okay? That should matter to you, in my opinion. Okay? So we went into a room. They sat down and they said, here's what we've learned about your plan that you have now. Here's the 3 or 4 really big holes in the plan. One of them was obviously in the customer gathering part of it, right? The early stages of what someone's going to get paid when they find someone who will use the products. And he said, we're going to fix all these. And he had this really rough draft of what they wanted to do on a compensation plan. And I about died that day. I looked at that plan. I've been around the block, you guys. I've been in binaries, I've been in force matrices, I've been in all of them. So I kind of have an understanding of what happens when you explain these things. And I about died that day, and I was like, man, this is going to be a war. I hope you invited me into this room so that I could have some input, not just sit there and nod my head, right? And we ended up having an incredibly contentious, incredibly collaborative. We had an incredibly, it ended up being the best experience I have ever had in my life concerning compensation plans for this industry. That's how amazing that experience. It started out with a war, and we ended up in absolute peace talks. Would you not agree, Steve? There were times where people that were in that room came up and said, you and Dan were talking about things that we did not understand. You were using language and examples that we did not understand. That's how it was. It was an extraordinarily high-level compensation plan about things that you can prove on paper versus the things that just happen in real life. Okay? And what we decided, based on all the information from the other companies and from what was going on in our company, is that we had to be very, very, very deliberate in finding ways for people to make about $30 an hour if we wanted to keep them here. So that was our number one goal. Can we get someone to be able to make about $30 an hour as they're brand new? And so he said the best way that we're going to be able to do that is to start modifying what people get when they come in, because your company is very, very heavily leading with the products. You guys lead with the products a lot. You're going to gather a lot more customers than most other companies do. Which, by the way, if you start thinking about the regulatory environment, is that good for us? Is it good for us to be heavy on the customer side?
Yes.
So why wouldn't we want to reward you for that? So I started going in my mind saying, well, if I'm going to still lead with the compensation plan, I need to make sure that I'm showing people how much money they can make. So should we dive into some of that really quick? Do you guys want to understand the customer piece of it? Now, here's the little catch to the customer piece. The customer piece is also the very most attractive part for the social marketing world. How many of you guys know social marketers? You guys know we have one of the most highly trained social marketers in our room right here in the front row. Okay? I won't point her out any more than that, other than to say that one of the goals we had was not just to pay for the customer gathering, but it was to attract people that were very focused on that type of introduction product, that type of gathering for selling the products, okay? So here's what that looks like. Okay, so what they said is this. He said, in order to get someone to that $30 mark, we've got to have very, very defined profitability when they sell. So there's got to be that difference between a subscription price and then the wholesale price. We want to change it though between the subscription price and the retail price for a reason. The entire idea in network marketing is to put people on a subscription so that you've done work really, really well one time, and then that work pays you every time the subscription runs. So you'll do work in January. When the subscription runs in February, you get paid again, as if you had done the work again, right? Pays you again in March, and April, and May, and all the way through. As long as that subscription runs, you could have done that work last year or 10 years ago, right? So they said, we want to encourage people to get a subscription. We're going to have to pay a little bit less on it, though, because the retail side takes a lot more effort. Because what happens on the retail side, you guys? You have to do the work every single month, right? But we're going to give you 100% of that difference. 100%. So if someone spends $100 and the consultant price is $80, you get the $20 difference. And we pay it the next day. We add all these things up and pay it. Okay, these are the ways to get paid quicker. The subscription price has a $10 difference, but you get it every single month. So when you get to that third month of subscription where you're no longer working anymore, you're now making more money than that retail person, unless they're willing to go through the process of selling that retail product. Does that make sense? So we said we want to encourage subscriptions because subscriptions are there's more stability in that. There's a lot more consistency in your paychecks if you put people on subscriptions. Okay? So we did all that. Then we said, in addition to this, we're going to add up all of those subscriptions that people do, and we're going to give you an additional bonus from the company on a monthly basis. Now, in our previous world, we paid very, very little for this. In fact, most people were getting about a 2% check, about a 2% commission. They said, this is by far the biggest deterrent for anybody who's a social marketer or for anybody who gets excited about products that are peer-reviewed, that have set a new standard for the industry, because you guys are going to have a lot more people feel more comfortable with that. 2% is not enough to keep them around. We have to make a drastic change in this part. So we went to this right here where we said, if you have $500 to $1,000 worth of customer volume, we're going to give you an additional 5% on top of whatever that difference was on a subscription or a retail price. Okay? An additional 5%. We then said at the end of the month, if it adds up to 1,000 to 2, it's 10. 2,000 to 4,000 is 15. 4,000 and above is 20%. Now, why does this matter? Well, we went from 2% to up to 40%. Is anybody excited about that? We said if you will take the time or have the courage to go out and talk about these products, and hopefully not from the superoxide dismutase level, but just from the fact that people want you, the scientists have all said you should use it at that level, but if you'll do it enough, we'll pay you up to 40%. If they spend $4,000, you're making $1,600. Let's say that you're somebody who might not really be attracted to the network marketing world, or maybe you're a social marketer. Maybe you're somebody that does a lot of digital marketing, right? Maybe you're one of those people. You don't have to build teams, and you can still make really, really significant income. This is by far the largest payout you can get by qualifying for this right here from a percentage point of view. Does that make sense? Now I'm going to build a little bridge for you guys here in a second as to why you should encourage your people to all qualify Diamond. Okay? You're going to see this multiplication take place here in a second. But this right here, you guys, when they first came out with this, I was like, really? I was like, are people really going to be able to get that $4,000 mark? I mean, that's a lot. I only have 3 customers. They're going to have to get like 36. I didn't think people would do it. And I think, what was it? Our very first one, we had 200 and... Our first event, we had 200, like almost 250 people that hit Diamond in the very first period that we were keeping track. Is that crazy? 250 people making an extra $1,600 a month. Now, you might not think that $1,600 is a lot. It is enormous for most people. That is a huge, huge side gig for most people, right? If you have a job, if you're getting a job at the corner store down there, this is replacing all of that. By far. And so what we did is we gave people an opportunity to build something from their home rather than leaving their home. We gave them the possibility to build it from home, not have to actually go out and build network marketing if you are resistant to that. We allowed you to go to all your social marketers and say, we're very competitive now, and the difference between the products that you're selling over here versus the products that we have in this company is ours are validated by the highest level that you can get them validated through peer review in our universities, okay? You can go to your social marketers now and say, listen, you can make 5, 10, 15, 20 extra % by doing volume. And they don't have a problem with the volume. We have people in this company that are 6, 8, 7 times qualified Diamond. I mean, imagine doing $30,000 volume at 40%. What is your monthly check on $30,000?
$12,000.
It's $12,000 a month. And we started going to social marketers and going, listen, you're working in this world where you have to continually renew and refresh all this content that you're making to continue to get paid these high commissions that you're used to getting. In our company, you can put them on a subscription, do the content once, and that subscription just pays you again and again and again, and start introducing these people to the idea of leverage, the idea of doing work once and getting paid multiple times. And that's what's attracted in just the last 6, 7, 8 months. We have people coming to this company all the time now from that world saying, tell me what you guys are doing. How is this working? Is that crazy? We're not even asking them to stop doing what they do over here. Now think about what I just said. You can go to your social marketing friends that maybe even ended up in social marketing because they have tried network marketing before. You can go to them and say, we're not even going to ask you to stop selling your other products. You can keep doing that. You think that's beneficial to them? That's how they make their money. You can just come here and start selling our incredible products, put them on a subscription, and just add to whatever all this other effort is. We're hoping, we believe that they're going to come here and have so much success. We believe they're going to get so accustomed to this income that's a little more passive, this income that they've done work. We believe they're going to come here and then put more effort in and build that customer base up even bigger. I would hope that somebody in this company will someday do $100,000 a month through this pathway. Can you imagine a $40,000 a month income just from this? If someone does that, and I don't think it's been done yet, so someone needs to lead that charge. Someone needs to blaze that path, okay? If someone does that, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think the floodgates are going to open up and people are just going to come running here? Now let me ask you this. If a social marketer can do this on the digital platform that they're using, can you still do that in your neighborhood? Can you still benefit from this if you're not even a social marketer? Yeah, you get the same percentage. You get the same return. So when Dan told us to do this, and this was by far the biggest change we made in the company, we started to realize there's nobody out there that we can't talk to anymore. We started to realize that when someone comes into the business and starts introducing this to their friends, and they just by default talk about the product, we're not paying them this 2%. We're actually paying them something significant. I don't think you would ever even have to leave this part of our compensation plan, and you should be able to sign consultants up. That's how powerful this percentage is. Okay? What if all you did was understand this one piece and you went to your friends and said, hey, you know, I know things are a little tight at the end of the month. I can show you how to make an extra $400 or $500. It's real simple. We don't even have to get into the complication of building out teams. I can start to show you how to make this little extra money. Would that help? Is that a conversation you could have? Do you have to be a scientist to have that conversation? How many of you guys can do the math on 10%? And if you're a woman in here, don't even try to tell me you don't know what 10% is. Okay? My wife knows every discount percentage that's ever been created. She can do the most complex calculations. What is 27.3% discount? She knows every one of those things by heart, right? Am I right? Okay? You could build your business on this one alone. Now let's take it to the next step, okay? Will you find me my next? I just want to go to the unilevel. You can obviously tell I don't even pay attention to all the other little stuff, right? You guys think I even teach that when I'm out there? I don't teach any of it. I am building a long-term income. That's all. I play the long game every single time. People go, how did you get to the point where you have a $150 million organization? And I said, I focus on the things that build $150 million organizations. I don't focus on the little itsy-bitsy stuff. I focus on the big game. That's what I do. Okay? All right. So, we then said, all right, if we can get people to understand the benefit of getting really, really big commissions from finding these customers, can we then go out and start helping them build teams? Because in the end, what would you guys rather have? Would you rather have 100% of your own effort, or would you rather have 1% of 100 other people's efforts? What would you guys rather have? Now, I know there's people, when I first heard that question, my initial response was, well, I'll take 100% of my own all day. I know what I'm going to do. Right? I mean, I know how driven I am. I know what my commitment level is, right? I know that. And then they said, well, do you think you're ever going to take a break? And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, are you ever going to take a day off? Or are you just going to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And I go, well, no, I'm going to have to take some time off. He goes, well, when you're taking time off, what's 100% of 0? I was like, oh. They said, what if you had 100 people, you got 1%? Do you think all 100 people are going to take time off on the exact same time? Oh, well, probably not. They said, well, if you're getting even 70% of those 100 people working consistently, 30 people can take a day off, you still get paid 70% every single day, 24 hours a day. I was like, I'll take 1% of 100 people's efforts. Right? I don't want to lose all my effort just because I take time off. They said that is essentially what you're trying to do. You're going to go out and try to find 100 people that you can get a little piece of. So he said, let's build a unilevel that will allow you to go out and introduce this company to people, show them what this company can do with the products, with the compensation plan, and start building a team. And then we're going to work through a whole bunch more ranks. One of the second problems that we had in our comp plan is that the ranks, we didn't have enough of them. And Dan was able to explain to us that if you really want to be effective in the network marketing world, you've got to have lots of little milestones, lots of little recognitions, lots of little accomplishments so that people stay engaged. Okay? People have to be able to stay engaged so that you can keep motivating them and keep getting them to have the rung on the ladder had to be just barely out of reach, is what he said. Not so far that you had to build a ladder to get to the next rung. Does that make sense? And so he was able to go through all of our data and say, this is where the ladder is, the rungs are too far apart, and this is another place where everything was just kind of like, it was just like converging to where there's a standstill. So he said, let's make a whole bunch more ranks. Let's make them a lot easier to hit. So you'll see right here, this consultant 1, consultant 2, and consultant 3 rank, we didn't have any of those in our previous plan. We didn't have any of that stuff. He says, we're going to put them in there. We want people to get recognized. So at the consultant 1 level, we're going to give them a 5%. At consultant 2, 7% of anything that they personally enrolled. So anybody you personally got to join your team. At 9%, and then 10% when they get to that senior consultant 1 rank, which you're hearing a lot about this weekend, right? We want to get people to that $2,000 or 2,000 group sales volume as fast as we can. That's where you're going to start getting 10% of everything that the person who joined your team does themselves. And I said, okay. I said, that sounds way better because at the old plan it was 2. So we're giving you 5 times as much now as what you used to get in the less modern plan. The more modern plan is now paying you 10% of everybody you bring in. And he said, and here's the one that is going to be the real kicker for people that understand this little piece. We're going to take all the customers and we're going to place them sideline to their enroller. We're going to put the customers sideline. So what that would mean is, Jake, jump up here with me really quick. Okay? Let's say that I go out and I introduce this to Jake and I say, Jake, I know you've been doing this before. I know you had a big business. I've got the new thing, man. I've got the thing that's actually setting a standard out there that's never been met. Wait till you see these products. We're not going to get too much into that. But I want to talk to you about how this money works. And he comes in and goes, okay, show me what you got. We sit him down. He gets signed up. I say, let's call some of your friends. We start introducing his friends to this business. Some of them say no to the networking side but want to be a customer. Okay? Elizabeth, will you run up here with me really quick? I just had... Bad choice. Oh, why are you so tall? I'm used to it. My daughter's a basketball player. My wife, you saw my wife, she puts heels on. I'm like, hey honey, how you doing over there? Okay. So let's say that Jake is starting to talk to people. He's inviting people to the business. And Elizabeth goes, no, I don't really want to do the business thing. You know, I've done that. But I love the products. I want to take the products. What the company does is they put Elizabeth right here. Okay? So sideline to Jake. So here I am as the enroller. I bring Jake in, I hit my SE1, I get 10% now of everything that Jake buys personally for him and his family. I also get 10% of everything that Elizabeth buys as a customer because she's on the same level as him. Does that make sense? So now let's say that Jake goes out and he becomes a diamond. So he goes and gets $4,000 of volume with people like Elizabeth. I now get 10% of that diamond volume. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know that? Okay, so Jake goes out, he has $4,000. He's getting his 30% or 40%, depending on whether it's subscription or retail. He's getting 30 or 40, I'm getting another 10. Is that crazy? What if Jake gets really excited and goes, you know, I'm kind of loving getting all this customer. I just love this piece. Maybe Jake doesn't understand the power of building teams yet. So all he does is goes out and finds 10 more Elizabeths. Where are they at in his organization? Are they on his front line or are they sidelined to him? You guys have got to understand this piece. This right here is literally the reason our comp plan is blowing everybody out of the water, is this relationship right here. He goes out and finds 10 more Elizabeths and does $40,000 worth of customer volume. He's getting his 30 or 40%. Because I had the courage to invite him to be a part of this, get 10% of all of that. Do you like this part of the plan now? Would you even have to explain anything more than that? Okay? You wouldn't, would you? Okay? I'm going to really try to illustrate this here, okay? So now, I go out and let's say, who else can I call? Blue, will you come on up here? This is Presidential Executive Blue Elam, by the way, just so you know. If you ever want to have the time of your life, get in his car on a long road trip and have him tell you firefighter stories. I'm just telling you, if you want, you might want to sign like a disclosure before, like the sensitive content warning one, I've known this guy for forever. I mean, he's an incredible guy, incredible leader. Okay, so now let's say I go out and I have found Blue, and Blue goes, you know what? I think I can do this. Okay, Steve, will you come up here? Sorry if you sat on the front row. Okay. So now Blue is he's another consultant that I found. Okay, Blue's just kind of like Jake. Okay. Blue goes out, though, but he finds Steve. Steve now is a consultant. Jake and Blue are my first level, so level 1. Steve would be what? My level 2? Because Blue found Steve? Okay? What if Steve goes out and he starts finding a bunch more Elizabeths? Maybe Steve's like, yeah, I don't know if I understand this deeper piece. I just want to go get the customer bonus. And he goes and gets an Elizabeth. How much money will Steve make from the Diamond Consultant Elizabeth? 30 or 40% of all that volume. What level was Steve to me? Level 2. I'm actually probably at this point going to be somewhere in those upper ranks. I'm going to be getting somewhere closer to the 7% now. So I'm now getting 10% of everything that Jake and Elizabeth do. I'm getting 10% of everything that Blue does, but I'm getting 7% now of everything that Steve and all of his customers get because they're all sidelined to him. How many of you want to have Diamond Consultants on every single level in your business? Should you be teaching this to people? Do you have to? People see this whole 9-level thing, they're like, it's just too much for me. It's so much math. How does all the 9 levels even work? It literally just works like this. I find Blue, Blue finds Steve. Steve finds Elizabeth. Where are they on my levels? That's what I get paid. Is it a little bit easier now? Does that illustration help you guys a little bit more? Okay? All right, thanks you guys. Okay. When I wrapped my mind around this, when Dan showed me this, it was light bulbs going off. I was like, oh man. I have been working this business where I enroll somebody and then everybody they enroll is at least 2 or 3 levels away from me, which in most cases reduces all the commissions you get paid, even though it gets broader and broader. If 5 get 5, that's 25, and if 25 get 5, that's 125, right? Even if it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it's still getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I started to realize that all this volume is now going to compress closer to me at higher payout percentages. And I was like, man, this plan, if people don't get excited about this plan, they might as well just go back to work. You probably need to be on the 40-year plan. You probably should have a boss telling you what you're worth. You probably need someone to tell you what to do every day. You probably should have to live with those decisions and have to survive on half of what you couldn't live on while you were making money anyway. You should probably be that person. If you don't get excited about this little piece of it, with that understanding, I don't really know what else you need to know. Does that make sense? And so then Dan said, well, let's turn this thing up. He goes, let's make it even better. Let's go to the matching if we can. He goes, let's turn it up. He goes, our entire industry, you heard Jake say it, our entire industry is around leadership development, right? When I was taught or sold this idea, they said, Tyler, once you go out and get a bunch of people buying product, if you really want to have the stability of income from work you did years ago, the number one goal you should have is leadership development. You should create independence in others. You have to become the person that shows them how to stand on their own. It's like being a parent. As weird as it sounds sometimes, my team are my children, right? And I'm trying to raise them up to be really contributing adults in society. Isn't that our goal? How many of you guys want a child that has to live at home? Right? Anybody want that? Anybody like, yeah, I'm just excited. You know, these kids have cost me $1 gazillion until they're 18, but you know, by the time they're 40, if they move out, it'll only be another $1 gazillion. Right? Anybody excited about that? Okay? So I look at this like that. I look at it like being a parent. How do I create independence on my team? How do I help mentor them? How do I help train them? How do I help teach them? Now, for me, I've been very, very fortunate. I was actually able to personally enroll Blue. Who in here would like to enroll Blue, a presidential executive? Okay? Now, he's that kid in your family that literally is just like, tell me once, I'll go do it. I mean, who doesn't want that guy, right? I didn't have to hold his hand hardly ever. In fact, at one point I was like, dude, do you like need any help? And I was like, no, I got this. Like, you're the best. Like, you are the best. If I could find 100 more of you, this is it. I also got to sponsor Dr. Campbell. Anybody in here want to sponsor Dr. Campbell? Skip? Anybody want to do that? Now, he didn't need any help gathering customers. All he needed me to do was help him shift his messaging a little bit to the comp plan. And he went, I think, presidential in like 24 months or 26 months, something crazy. He hit it in December when you're not even supposed to grow. Right? That's crazy, right? I was very, very fortunate to have the opportunity to have these people come into my life because I had the courage to go talk about this. Do you think they came here? Do you think Blue came here because he was like, well, as a firefighter and an EMT, I'm just really excited about these products. I know how they're going to benefit all these people. I don't really care about getting paid. I'm just going to tell everybody Protandim exists because if we can reduce inflammation in people, when I show up at their house in an emergency, maybe that will help. Or do you think he looked at this and went, man, my pay is garbage. I'm working miserable hours. I still love people. This is a way for me to help people and get paid. What do you think? Right. If I hadn't showed him a compensation plan, would he even be here? Okay? All right. So then Dan said, he goes, you got to create this independence in people. He goes, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to allow you to build this leadership anywhere in your organization. So here's the one place I need to help you guys with some terminology. Levels are literally levels. So anybody I personally enroll is level 1 unless I place them, right? Which we do not encourage that. Anybody that's telling you to place, and there's a whole story behind that. We do not want to do that except under very, very, very specific circumstances. Keep everybody as close and as frontline to you as you can. Okay? And I don't really, even at this point, care if any of the other leaders disagree with me. I know most of them, probably none of them would. Keep everybody as close as you can to you. Do not start placing thinking you're going to motivate someone to work. All you do is create weakness when you do that. You create an expectation in everyone else when you do that. Okay? There's a psychology to this that we can have a whole other class on. At least an hour and a half. Okay? So keep them frontline to you. But you can go down now and find what's called generations. So there's a difference between levels and generations. Okay? Levels are where they're at literally in your organization. Generations are based on qualifications. So they're based on ranks. So all those ranks that we were making out there, we said we want you to create independence, and you can find it anywhere. So if I knew Blue, and Blue knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody 6, 7, 8, 10 levels away, maybe Jake shows up on my 12th, okay, but he's the next leader. If Blue is my generation 1 as a leader, Jake can be my generation 2 on my 12th level. Does this make sense? So Dan then explained to us, he goes, listen, the reason you want to do this kind of stuff is it allows the top leadership, the people that are building this for the big, big, big goals, to go anywhere in their organization, as far down below them as they want, and still build. So you're getting the influence of success, the influence of people that are achieving these goals deep into the organization. Now what happens? What if, think about this for a second, what if you had a group that had, say, 10, 12, 15 different levels, and Blue showed up on the 16th level? What do you think it does to all those people above him, between you and him? Do they quit? I mean, do you quit if you have a multi-million-dollar a month person, a multi-million-dollar volume clear down at the bottom? Do you quit even if it's your only group? Not a chance. I mean, in your mind, you're like, man, if I could just get one more of those, I'm done. I'm retired. I'm living on the beach. I'm spending all the time with my family, right? That's why you want to encourage people to be able to look anywhere into their organization to develop this leadership. You establish success deep, it locks everybody else in. And they never quit. What does it do to their subscription? Do you think they ever stop doing subscriptions when they have somebody like Blue in their group? So should you be looking for that person that honestly doesn't necessarily need your help, but maybe you should give it to them? Should you be looking for that person all the time in your business? Do you know how I find those people? I have rules. You have to be at these events. Number one, people that don't show up at events don't get any time. Because things happen at these events. Would you guys agree that when you're at these events, you feel different? It's almost like a necessity to be here, right? How many of you guys wish you could bring more people on your team to these events? You do, right? I was told this in the beginning. I didn't even really understand it. I thought it was a bunch of people like waving their lighters and singing songs. I'm serious, you guys. And then it went to cell phones, you know. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. My very, very first event, I sat up in the rafters like I told you guys yesterday, and they actually did that. And I was like, this is the dumbest I've ever seen. I don't get motivated by that stuff, right? We got one already. I didn't get motivated by that. I was like, this can't be real. People really do this, right? Okay? You have to be at these events. I started to realize one of the events I went to, and this is why it was so important, this was my big shift on events, is I took somebody to an event and I promoted it like it was going to be this incredible thing, and the speaker was horrible. I was like, oh my gosh. We drove 2.5 hours, and that was the experience you got. I'm done. I don't think I can do this anymore. And we got in the car, and I'm like, I'm really sorry. I know I spent your whole day. And the guy was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I mean, I just thought it was going to be, he was like, that's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, what? I was like, oh, I'm going to stop talking now, right? You have to remember that people are going to have an experience. That's why you have such diversity on that stage, is people are going to relate to different things. You want your entire team to be at these events, okay? So, anyways, you have to be at these events. You have to be doing the three-way phone calls. You have to be asking for information. You have to be taking action. That's really what I look for, to try to find these people that are going to develop this leadership. So here's what Dan said. He goes, you guys have a 5-generation payout. We want to take it to 7. We want to actually be able to go out 7 generations and pay these percentages based on what the previous payout is. So that unilevel payout that had the 9 levels where you get the 10% and the 7%, these generations, when someone hits the MC1 rank, that would be generation 1 to you. And it can be on your first level, your second level, your 5th level, your 20th level. It can be anywhere in your organization. When they hit the MC1 rank, you're going to get this percentage based on your rank. So if you're a managing consultant 2, you will get a 7% match of whatever their unilevel bonus was. So if their bonus was $1,000, you would get 70. Does that make sense? If their bonus is 10 from that piece, not from their total check, but from that piece, then you would get 700. Does that make sense? Now, here's the cool thing. They can stay an MC1. And you can grow from managing consultant 2 to managing consultant 3, and you get a higher percentage of what they still have. So even if their volume stays at 1,000, by simply moving to the next rank, your check goes from $70 to $120. Do you like that? He said, we're going to give your consultants control of how much match they get. Do you like that? Do you like having control over getting more of a match even if their teams don't grow? Did any of you guys know that this is how this worked? Okay, is it making more sense now? Okay. We then said, even if that managing consultant 1 stays at 1,000 and you hit executive consultant 1, we're going to go now to 15%. So by simply helping them maintain their volume but growing your own business, you're going to get a higher percentage every time you rank advanced. All the way up to 20%. Okay? Is there a limit on how many of these you can have in your team? None. There is absolutely no limit. No limit. How much do you think I love getting matching bonuses from Blue? Or Dr. Campbell? Anybody want one of those? Anybody want a matching bonus from Blue? Really? It's horrible. I'm just telling you right now. It's horrible to get paid from people that don't need your help and do giant volume. It's the worst thing. Okay. So, you remember the illustration that I was putting up here where I had Blue who signed up Steve, right? So let's say Blue hits his managing consultant 1, and then Steve turns around and hits managing consultant 1. So Blue would be my generation 1. Steve would now be my generation 2. Let's now, in this example, say that they sponsored a few people down 7 or 8 levels, and Jake showed up down there on my level 20, let's say, but he's just the next managing consultant 1 in that line. Jake would be generation 3. Now watch. Jake's volume contributes to the unilevel check that Steve gets paid. Jake and Steve's volume contributes to the unilevel check that Blue gets paid. Because I found Blue, I get a matching bonus from Blue's unilevel, from Steve's unilevel, and from Jake's unilevel on the exact same volume. You understand what I just said? So volume that Jake was doing is paying Steve in his unilevel someplace, and I'm going to get, if I'm at the upper levels, 12% of that volume. And then when they pay, or I'm going to get 12% from when they pay Jake, I'm going to get 15% on that same volume when they pay Steve. And then I'm going to get another 20% of whatever that check is on that same volume when they pay Blue. Do you want to work in depth? Should you build large organizations? Does our comp plan pay you to find and develop independent leadership deep into your group? When you develop independent leadership, does it stabilize your business? When you develop independent leadership, does it give consistency into your income? Can you count on your income? Can you start to make life choices based on your income? Is this crazy? So when Dan said we're going to turbocharge this thing, that's what he meant. Do you think he did it? He completely came in and said, we will be the most modern, the most competitive comp plan in the entire industry if you guys will adopt this. You feel like we are? Yeah. Is this a conversation you could bring people into the business with? Do you think I could have this conversation with people and not even talk about oxidative stress and still get them to sign up? What do you think? What do you think? I don't talk about the other stuff. I talk about this because one thing I know for sure is everybody wants more money. Everybody does. Okay? All right. You guys understand this now? You understand how to track that down? It can be anywhere in your group and every person you enroll. So, by the way, if you want to have a whole lot more of this, what do you need to have in width in your business? You don't want to have one line because that one line would start with generation 1 and limit the number as it goes down because generation 1 can have 3 on generation 2, right? Follow what I just said? Okay? I'm going to illustrate this again. Okay, so let's say I enroll Blue. Let's say that Blue enrolls Elizabeth frontline to himself as a consultant this time, not a customer. But Blue enrolls Steve frontline to himself as a consultant. And Blue enrolls Jake frontline to himself on his level 1 as a consultant. And all 3 of them hit managing consultant 1. What generation are they to me? Blue is generation 1 to me because I enrolled Blue. But his 3 people that hit managing consultant 1 on his first line, his first level, are all second generation to me. So I have 1 on my first generation and 3 on my second generation. Did that make sense? What if they all go get 3 on their first generation? I now have 9 matching bonuses on my 3rd generation. It's real easy to think linear. I want you to start thinking as it starts to multiply in width. Does that make sense? I can have as many matching on every generation as I want. The more width I have on my first level, the more generations of match I'm going to have on my 2nd or 3rd or 4th. If you really want me to twist your brain, Blue could enroll Elizabeth on his front line. She could enroll a whole bunch of other people over here. She's not an MC1 yet, and the MC1 can show up on somewhere in her group, and that's still my 2nd generation, several levels down, and I still have Steve on my 2nd generation, and I still have Jake on my 2nd generation. So the way that you get paid generationally doesn't have to be per level either. It's actually can be all over the place. Like my 2nd generation could be 2nd level or 90th level. And when you start getting into this level of understanding on this comp plan, you start to go, man, these guys thought of everything. I don't care where my 2nd generation match comes from. I just got to go find who that leader is and build them to an MC1. They don't have to be on my 2nd level. Did I lose you on that one? Is it clicking in? Okay. Okay. Same thing goes for every one of those other levels. All right, so Dan said, here's the deal. We have to be competitive in attracting the brand new person, give them a fighting chance, give them enough money in the first 30, 60, 90 days to keep them around long enough to learn the business. That's why we have such an aggressive payout on the customer bonus. We have to give people a reason to build teams. We have to do that. You got to pay them aggressively to build teams. Put all the customers sidelined to the enrollment so that you're basically giving a lot more volume that you get paid on for each one of the levels. Then you develop the leadership in between. The last piece that you have to have in a comp plan, if you want it to be really, really effective, is one where you're sharing in the efforts of the entire company. So how many of you guys would like to get paid from my organization? Anybody in here that's like, I'd like a piece of that? You know? That group, if I could just get paid on that one, I'd be happy. He said, what it becomes is a cultural piece. So you guys are kind of starting to see now how we're putting this thing together. We're putting it together in a way that we're trying to, I guess behaviorally, get started, get paid a bunch, build a team, develop leadership, now get paid on the whole company, so that culturally, I'm willing to help everybody in the company, not just my team. How many of you guys would love to come to an event like this, and all of your presidentials were like, well, whose team are you on? I can't help you. Whose team are you on? No, don't talk to me. Whose team are you on? Go away, I've got to work with only my own team. Who would love to be in that environment? Or would you rather be able to grab us in the hallways and go, hey, I got a quick question for you, and we go, yeah, what is it? Okay? Elizabeth is not on my team, and I've spent at least 2 or 3 hours just visiting and talking about how to create strategies to help develop social marketing in a network marketing environment, right? Do you love the fact that the conversations we're having and the contributions she makes, you can get paid from? Think about what I just said. You can get paid from the conversations that I'm having with other people. Do you like that? You weren't even in the conversation and you can get paid. Do you like that? Should you help people when you get to the upper levels of the company? Should you do the same thing? Should you pass that on? Because your efforts are not just benefiting you, they're benefiting everyone. Is that the kind of culture we want? Okay, so this bonus right here, you guys, again, we used to only have 4. Everything they did made everything better. We used to have 4, now we have 5, okay? You get paid a share by hitting executive consultant 1, which how many new consultant, how many EC1s do we have? We recognized 40 brand new EC1s yesterday. How many of you guys saw that? There were 40 of them. We do this in between events. There were 40 new EC1s in between events. Is this thing growing? Is there a way for you to get to where you want to be in this? And is there proof? Is the path been kind of cleared for you? Okay? 40 new people are sharing in our pool bonus. 40 new people are now sharing in what the entire company does. If you saw somebody on stage yesterday and you're like, I want to know how she did that or how he did that, go ask them. They're getting paid to tell you. They're now getting paid to tell you. We then said if you'll get to the EC2 level, we're going to give you 3. And these are not, they don't add on. It's just you get 1 at that level, you get 3 at this level, you get 5 at this level, and then 10, and then 20. If you're Blue Elam, you get 20 of these every month. Who wants to be blue? Now Dan said to us, he goes, one of the things that we want to try to do is we want to try to create an income at every stage that would be significant by itself. So we want the customer bonuses to be significant by themselves. So if that's all you did, you could make a significant income. If all you did with the Unilevel, you could make a significant income. If all you did was build matching, it would be a standalone significant income. This is the same way. Did we run out of time or something?
We got 4 minutes.
I'm gonna smack some people around here. No, just kidding. Okay, put that back up for 1 second. I'm gonna violate compliance. Not really. I would never do that.
Don't leave.
I got
one more thing for you.
Everybody's trying to go get their other seats. You're not gonna learn anything over there more important than this. So I'm just sorry. It's not more important over there than this. Every one of these things is worth about, let's just say, roughly $1,000. Okay. So if you're Blue Elam, can you live independently on $20,000? If that's all you, even if you threw everything else away and you said, all we're going to do is build this thing until we can get paid from what the whole company does, and it was just the 20 shares and it was 20 grand a month, would it be worth it just for that? It's worth it just for that. Okay? I did not believe that we could use an hour and a half. I've got another hour and a half we could do. So, Jake's got, should we do this again and go into another level of it? Okay. All right. Should we try to plan that at the next event? Do it again? Okay. Jake's got something he's got to tell you. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming out here this morning. I really, really hope you guys got what you needed out of this, and we'll take it to another level, okay?
All right, real quick, don't leave. One thing that I wanted to point out, how many of you were here with the old compensation plan before we went to Evolve? Okay, one thing that I want to share with you that is really interesting that you probably didn't realize. We just came through a massive product launch, right? GLP-1, we were in Kansas City, and during that period of time, there were massive enrollments. So if you think about Tyler's organization and the amount of enrollment volume that came in, did you know that in our old compensation plan, Tyler didn't earn a single dollar on all of that enrollment volume that came in that month? Did you guys realize that? When you had new enrollment volume come in the old plan, you didn't earn a dollar. Our new compensation plan, every time new enrollment volume comes in, guess what? You earn. That is a significant thing. Right? How unmotivating is it if you saw $1,000 of new volume come into your team and you didn't earn a single Unilevel dollar off of it? Okay, that's powerful. Here's what I want to close with. Yesterday, who can remember what the goal was that Steve, our CEO, gave during his opening comments yesterday when we started our event? Do you remember what it was? 2,000 consultants, new consultants at $500. Okay, there are probably, I'm going to give network marketing numbers. There's probably 1,000 people in this room. Network marketing numbers. There's probably 600 people here, okay? Can I tell you how to accomplish that? Okay? I know a great way to start it. If everybody in this room right now, because we have the SC1 rank advancement bonus doubler going. So if every single person in here enrolled a new consultant and help them get to SC1, and we're not going to do it in their launch period. If they do, this still works. But we're going to help them get to SC1 in their first full calendar month. Okay? If you do the math on rolling that out, let's say that we help them get to Onyx right away. We help them get $500 in SC, in personal volume. And then they enroll a consultant. We help them get to SC1. They double, so now their rank advancement bonus is how much? $300. Okay, with the other bonuses and commissions, we will get them to $500. So if everybody in this room left and enrolled a new consultant and took advantage of this promotion, I believe, just during the promotional period, the next 3 months, we could achieve the goal that Steve set. We could surpass that. Because I promise you, if you help people accomplish that, that will duplicate and that urgency will take hold. And I think we could even double that number. I think we could have 4,000 new consultants change their lives with $500, okay? So who's willing to help me as we leave here to help accomplish and achieve that goal that Steve set for us? Can we do that? Okay? 2,000 new consultants earning $500, all right? Again, hey, thank you guys so much for coming. We will do this again. Was Tyler not amazing? Absolutely incredible. We will see you guys in general session 3. Have a phenomenal day, you guys. Thank you.
See, I'm gonna run and get some breakfast. See you guys.